In our family, Grandma's old recipe book was legendary. It was this thick, leather-bound book, its pages stained with splashes of tomato sauce, butter, and probably a few happy tears. We all believed it held the secret to every amazing dish she ever made. From her crispy fried chicken to that apple pie that could solve any problem, we thought the magic was in the measurements, the ingredients, the step-by-step instructions. But after she passed away, we found out we were wrong. The book wasn't just about food, it was about us. My mom, my aunt, and I decided to go through it one afternoon. We were sitting at the old kitchen table, the same one where Grandma had rolled out dough 1,000 times. The scent of cinnamon and something vaguely like old paper still lingered in the air. Mom opened the book carefully, as if it were a sacred text. The first few pages were what we expected. Her perfect buttermilk biscuits, the Sunday pot roast, the familiar, comforting recipes of our childhood. But then, as we turned the pages, we started noticing something else. Next to her famous chicken soup recipe and her beautiful, looping handwriting, she had written a little note. It said, "I made this the day your father got his acceptance letter to college." He was so excited he knocked over the whole pot. We ate sandwiches for dinner, but we'd never been happier. We all looked at each other. Dad had never told us that story. We turned another page to the recipe for her special beef stew, the one she only made on the coldest winter nights. Beside it, she'd written, "This was the night we almost lost the house. Your grandpa was so worried, but we all sat together and prayed." This stew was all we had, but it felt like a feast because we were together. Suddenly, this book of recipes transformed. It wasn't just a collection of ingredients anymore. It was a diary, a family history. Each dish was tied to a moment, a memory, a piece of our lives. We read about the cake she baked for my aunt's 5th birthday, the one the dog tried to eat. We saw the entry for the simple pasta dish she made the night I was born, with a little smudge next to it that looked suspiciously like a teardrop. It felt like Grandma was right there in the room with us, telling us our own story through her cooking. We spent hours just reading, laughing at the funny stories, getting quiet during the sad ones. It was like we were getting to know her and ourselves all over again. With every page, we pieced together the highs and lows of our family. We discovered struggles our parents had kept hidden and celebrated joys we never knew existed. There was the recipe for apology cookies, which Grandpa had to eat after a big fight, and the first heartbreak casserole, which apparently had the power to mend a teenager's broken spirit. The book chronicled first steps, graduations, arguments, and reconciliations. It was a map of our family's heart, laid out in flour, sugar, and love. The more we read, the more we realized how much of our lives had been celebrated, mourned, and marked around that kitchen table. Grandma hadn't just been feeding our bodies. She had been nourishing our connections, weaving us together with every meal she prepared. We kept turning the pages, our fingers tracing her familiar script. We were nearing the end of the book. The last few pages were less stained, the recipes more recent. There was one for a quinoa salad she tried after seeing it on a cooking show, with a note that said, "Not my favorite, but your cousin Sarah loved it. Even her failed experiments were acts of love." Then we got to the very last page. It was blank, except for a title written boldly at the top. It didn't look like a recipe title. It simply said, "For when the family is broken." We all held our breath. In recent years, our family had drifted. Arguments had turned into silences. Get-togethers became obligations instead of celebrations. We weren't broken, not completely, but we were definitely cracked. We looked down at the page, expecting to see a complex recipe, some magical dish that could fix everything. But there were no ingredients listed. No cups of flour or teaspoons of vanilla. Instead, there was a different kind of recipe. It was a list of instructions for us. It read, Step 1, call everyone. Step 2, sit together. Step 3, speak honestly. Step 4, listen softly. Step 5, forgive quickly. And at the very bottom, in big underlined letters, she had written the final step, and remember love tastes better shared. A heavy silence filled the kitchen. No one spoke for a long time. The words on that page hit us harder than any secret ingredient ever could. It was her final message. Her most important recipe. She knew. She had seen the distance growing between us, and this was her way of giving us the tools to fix it. We closed the book gently, and in that shared silence, we all understood what we needed to do. We weren't just holding a recipe book. We were holding a guide back to each other. That night, for the first time in a long time, the whole family gathered in Grandma's kitchen. It was chaotic. We decided to try and make her famous stew, the one from the story about almost losing the house. We were all clumsy. We argued about how much salt to add. My uncle burned the garlic, and we had to start over. My cousin and I got into a flour fight. It was messy and loud and imperfect. There was crying, but there was also so much laughter. It echoed through the old house. It felt just like the old days when Grandma would be in the middle of the chaos, directing us all with a smile. As we all sat around that same kitchen table, eating stew that was maybe a little too salty and garlic bread that was a little too brown, something shifted. The awkward silences were gone, replaced by stories and jokes. We spoke honestly. We listened softly. We forgave quickly. We were messy and imperfect, just like the meal we had made. But we were together. And in that small, warm kitchen, filled with the aroma of food and forgiveness, we finally understood Grandma's true legacy. She didn't leave us a book of recipes. She left us a recipe for being a family. She gave us a way back to each other. And we knew, from that day on, we'd keep cooking from her book, not just for the food, but for the memories we'd continue to create together. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.